yourself. Huni mtoto wako hapa and she needs his help. Na kazi yako ni kurushia watu midomo without doing anything.
What you want?
What you want, Pete?
See you and to know how you're doing. Don't think that I am a moron or an imbecile. In short, I'm not schizophrenic.
Sasa unaongea vitu gani? Hata sielewi unasema nini.
Utasimama hapo mpaka saa ngapi?
Jen, kindly, complex subject.
Kichwa changu imejaa mambo mengi sana. Nataka unipe nafasi nitulie. Sawa?
Live from Broadcasting House, this is Prime Edition. A very warm welcome to the broadcast. My name is Muchuma Odim. Tonight, the DPP has written to IPOA over Ojwang's death. The DPP wants IPOA to issue a report on the same in 7 days. And from the courts, police officers charged with the killing of Baby Pendo, if you remember the incidents in Kisumu, will know their bail terms next week. This and much more coming up, but first, the highlights.
Tomorrow, the CS must appear with the following persons: the IG, the chairperson IPOA, the chairperson Police Service Commission,
Senate summons Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen and Police IG Douglas Kanja over the mysterious death of blogger Albert Ojwang in police custody. 23 million Kenyans so far registered for the new universal healthcare scheme.
We have court cases in several courts, and we are pursuing about an estimated Kenya shillings 130 billion. So those cases are in several stages in the courts, and we expect to get favorable response because those cases were well investigated.
And the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission is on a trail of assets valued over 130 billion shillings acquired through proceeds of corruption. A warm welcome to the broadcast. My colleague Tomboya is away this evening. Our sign language expert tonight is Lensa Odingo. Continue talking to us on our social media platforms at KBC Channel 1. On to our lead story tonight. Forensic pathologists who conducted a post-mortem examination on the late Albert Ojwang have concluded that he died of head injuries inflicted through assault. The finding dismisses suicide as had been alluded to by the police, who the Law Society of Kenya now wants unmasked to reveal the identities of those involved and swift judicial action taken against them. And as Mariambo reports, the late Ojwang's father has made a passionate appeal for justice.
Post-mortem conducted on Albert Ojwang's body by a team of 5 pathologists in the presence of family representatives ruled out suicide as the cause of his death. Government pathologist Bernard Media said the findings point clearly to a violent death caused by external injuries.
There were serious injuries to the head. There were also features of neck compression. There were also multiple soft tissue injuries that were spread all over the body, including the head also, the neck, upper limbs, and the trunk and the lower limbs.
The pathologist further noted that the nature and location of the injuries on the sides and back of Ojwang's head and not the front showed signs of a struggle.
The bleeds that we found on the scalp, on the skin of the head, was partially spread on all aspects, including the face, the sides of the head, and also the back of the head. When we tie up together with other injuries that are well spread in the body, including the upper limbs and the trunk, then this is unlikely to be self-inflicted injury.
LSK President Faith Odhiambo has demanded full transparency in the murder probe.
Want to see all those officers arraigned in court. Want to see our judiciary in action. Let us not leave any stone unturned. And also to the Director of Public Prosecutions, we want to see you also reviewing the proper charges so that we can hold these individuals that have gone rogue to be held accountable.
Meanwhile, grief-stricken Albert Ojwang's father feels betrayed by police for not following the due process in law when he handed over his son to them.
Watu wanaongea kuhusu mambo ya ufisadi hata ni wengi kabisa katika nchi hii yetu. Kwa nini mtoto wangu peke yake asulubiwe kwa ajili ya neno la ufisadi ambao inahusu nchi nzima, abebe na ni mtoto wangu mmoja wa kipekee? Sasa nimebaki mkono mtupu. Nana atanielekeza katika maisha yaliyobakia.
He made a passionate appeal for justice.
Tafadhali mzee wa nchi, tusaidie, nisaidie kama mwananchi anayetoa ushuru pia. Na angalia haki kuwatendea wanyonge, sababu boma langu hata ilipigwa picha hata kabla kijana wangu kuondoka. Wakaona kwamba huyu ni mfukara, hawezi kujitetea. Kwa hivyo lolote tunaweza kumfanyia mtoto wake ili kwamba iwe suluhu namna hiyo.
Mariambo reporting for the Prime Edition.
And in other developments in regards to Ojwang's death, the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution has directed IPOA to expedite the investigations, and they should file a report and submit it to the DPP within 7 days for review and appropriate action. The Office of the DPP has directed IPOA to expedite the investigations in regards to the death of Ojwang and should issue a report on the same within 7 days for review and appropriate action. This, as the DPP says, her office is committed. The office is committed to executing its constitutional mandate in accordance with the law. That is the news in our newsroom this hour. Now, still on other developments to the same, the Senate has summoned Interior and National Administration Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen, Inspector General of Police Douglas Kanja, Independent Policing and Oversight Authority Chairperson Isaac Hassan, and National Police Service Commission to appear before the committee of the same on Wednesday, and that will be on 11th, 2025, to explain circumstances that led to the death of blogger Albert Ojwang in police custody. This as lawmakers called for the immediate resignation and arrest of the Deputy Inspector General Eliud Lagat over the mysterious death of Ojwang. Here is that report.
An autopsy ruled out suicide as the primary cause of Albert Ojwang's death. Legislators in the bicameral parliament are up in arms, calling for justice for the family.
The DIG need to do this country a favor. He needs to resign. as the first step of showing respect to the family of Albert Ojwang, the DIG needs to resign.
We want Mr. Eliud Lagat to be arrested so that he can write a statement from a police station for it to be clearer to him that he has a responsibility.
Na sisi hatutakubali hata kidogo kwamba ifichwe hichi kifo. Wanaanza kusema sasa kwa sababu yeye ni DIG anafikiria anaweza kudanganya Wakenya wote. Anasema ati mtu alijigonga na ukuta alafu akaanguka chini akakufa. Kwani alikuwa anacheza mpira yeye huko ndani?
If you look at the definition of to be killed and to die, this gentleman was killed, murdered by the police, who are supposed to be the custodians and the safeguards of law and order in this country.
Speaking during separate plenary sittings in the National Assembly and at the Senate on Tuesday, lawmakers termed the killing of Ojwang as an affront to the right to freedom of expression, calling on President to take firm action on the security apparatus.
Kulikuwa na nguvu na uwezo wa Albert kupelekwa kotini, mwalimu Albert kupelekwa kotini na kufungulia mashtaka, si kumua Albert ndani ya jela. Mheshimiwa Speaker.
As Speaker, I call upon the President on this matter. He must speak and speak.
Heads must roll from the Minister of Interior, Inspector General of Police and all his subordinates, including the OCS from Homa Bay, who gave out the link, Mr. Speaker, including Safaricom, who gives out the location of this suspect.
Members of Parliament also raised concerns over what they termed as a concerning trajectory the country is taking.
The reason this young man was killed, he said the police service receives close to 56 billion shillings every year. This is the story. This is the big thing in this house.
And Mr. Speaker, if IPOA is not in a position to, occasionally the government has actually employed the services of external forces and external investigators. For us to have confidence, perhaps the government may need to even consider that.
Senate Speaker Amason Kingi summoned top security chiefs to appear before the Committee of the Whole on Wednesday, June 11th, 2025.
That tomorrow the CS must appear with the following persons: the IG, the chairperson IPOA, the chairperson Police Service Commission.
For Prime Edition, I'm Gladys Mongai.
Let's stay with Parliament. A section of members of Parliament sitting in the National Assembly Administration and Security Committee now want Deputy Inspector General of Police Eliud Lagat to step aside to allow speedy and transparent investigations into the death of blogger Albert Ojwang. Led by Kisumu County Woman Representative Rosa Buyu, the members of Parliament also demanded answers on who instructed the arrest of Ojwang and his transfer to Nairobi. The lawmakers also want all security officers involved from the point of arrest up to the point of his death interdicted to allow speedy investigations. Here is that report.
The mockery of justice to still have the person who had actually lodged the initial complaint on behavior of Albert to still be sitting as part of a team that is investigating the death of Albert. As a mother, and for all the women of this country, it is important that that officer steps aside or resigns to allow meaningful investigation to go on.
Tunajua sasa hivi rais amesema ya kwamba yuko tayari kuongea na vijana, yuko tayari kuleta umoja. Kwa hivyo maofisa wa polisi, msibebe misalaba mikubwa, misalaba ambayo hatuelewi na hatuelewi ilienda vipi ama ilienda vipi. So DCI na zile investigation agencies zote, mtuambie ukweli, what happened.
Jambo la pili ambalo tunataka ni uchunguzi wa haraka na wakina wa mazingira ya kukamatwa kwa kifo cha Ojwang. Kama vile juzi ambavyo tuliona mbunge mwenzetu Mheshimiwa Were alipofariki. Hii uchunguzi wake haikuchukua muda, tayari wa Kenya wakapata ripoti. Hata kifo cha huyu kijana Ojwang pia tunataka maofisa wa mapolisi
waweze kuharakisha haraka tuweze kujua kinaga ubaga.
When a young Kenyan talks about a certain office held by an individual, they are talking about it because you are the one holding the office. If you have a thin skin, you can't take that. You exit. So as Kenyans, our expectations are that no one should try to gabble the issue that we are dealing with in our country today.
Any more questions?
Now shift to SHA. President William Ruto now says at least 23.3 million Kenyans have registered for the new universal healthcare scheme as per data from the Social Health Authority, SHA. Speaking in State House Tuesday, the president said the figures are a testimony that Kenyans have embraced the new universal healthcare scheme.
On Tuesday, President William Ruto played host to at least 600 leaders from the African Independent Pentecostal Church of Africa, AIPCA, at State House, Nairobi. It is here where the president commended the uptake of the Social Health Authority, saying the figures were impressive.
Ile ya NHIF ilikuwa na watu 5 million walikuwa nalipa wako kwa hiyo program. Sasa hii kufikia jana watu milioni 23 walikuwa wamejiandikisha.
The president highlighted that 10,884 members contributed 48.9 million shillings in monthly premiums, while 2,946 Kenyans enrolled in the Lipa SHA Pole Pole program on Monday, June 9th, the year 2025. President Ruto further assured the public that healthcare services will continue to improve.
Kazi yangu mwaka huu ni kupatiana tu funguo ya manyumba, tukiendelea na vijana zaidi wanafanya kazi, vijana zaidi wanaongezeka kufanya kazi na tunabadilisha Kenya.
The president also reflected on the government's decisive actions over the past 2 years to stabilize the economy, noting that these efforts are beginning to yield positive results.
It is my responsibility as the leader of this nation kuunganisha watu wote, mandugu, cousins, majirani, maadui, wote.
The Controller of Budget, Dr. Margaret Nyakango, has flagged foreign and domestic travels, pending bills and low absorption of funds as the main issues that faced the national government in the implementation of its budget for the first 9 months of the financial years 2024-2025. Nyakango says that travel expenditure amounted to 16.83 billion shillings, comprising 11.69 billion shillings for domestic travel and 5.1 billion shillings for foreign travel, with the Executive, Foreign Affairs and Parliament leading the travel chart. Nyakango has further revealed that the National Police Service spent more than 1 billion shillings to cater for the multi-agency security support mission in Haiti, as reported by Abdikaziz Hashim.
Budget and the Auditor General, you are our principal partners.
In a 344-page National Government Budget Implementation Review for the first 9 months of the financial year 24-25, the Controller of Budget, Dr. Margaret Nyakango, has now raised her concerns over foreign and domestic travels, pending bills and low absorption of funds as the main hindrance to prudent use of public resources. In the first 9 months of the financial year 2024-2025, travel expenditure amounted to 16.83 billion shillings. This comprised of domestic travel at 11.69 billion shillings and foreign travel at 5.1 billion shillings. The Executive, Foreign Affairs and Parliament were leading the chart. Dr. Nyakango further affirmed that indeed the State Department for Foreign Affairs facilitated 523.8 million shillings for Raila Amolo Odinga campaigns for the position of AUC chairperson, which he lost to Djibouti's Mahmoud Ali Yusuf. This as the National Police Service spent 181.1 million shillings in September of 2024 to support the mission in Haiti. The figure rose to 1.98 billion shillings in October the same year, and in March this year, the National Police Service wired 229.38 million shillings to officers in Haiti. On education, a non-financial performance analysis revealed that infrastructure and equipment for public primary schools and special needs education services were lagging behind in implementing the free primary education program. The total national government pending bill as of 31st of March 2025 amounted to 511.75 billion shillings compared to 516.27 billion shillings reported as of 30th of June 2024. This comprised of 421.63 billion shillings, 82% for state corporation, and 90.12 billion shillings, 18% for ministries and state department. Abdiaziz Hashim for Prime Edition.
And on that note, we are taking our first commercial break. When we return, the latest on the war on corruption and much more, including business and sports, with the clarity we deserve. Stay with us.
Many workers access their retirement benefits when switching jobs, unaware of the impact it has on their future. Taking out your retirement savings too soon reduces the income you will have when you retire, leaving your future less secure. Have you thought about the lifestyle or income you want to retire with? The earlier you start saving, the better. And the more you save, the more secure your future will be. Increase your savings today and live your golden years the way you've always dreamed. For more information, visit our website www.rba.go.ke, call our toll-free line 0800-720-300 or email info@rba.go.ke. Secure your future. Secure your peace of mind. RBA, safeguarding your retirement benefits. Kenya's future is taking shape. Introducing the 2025-2026 National Budget. A budget built on priorities and focused on what matters most. Empowering agriculture for food security and prosperity. Supercharging digital infrastructure for innovation and opportunity. Building affordable homes, creating jobs and transforming lives. And ensuring quality healthcare for all. So, how much will it all cost? Well, a proposed budget of 4.2 trillion is on the table. Get the full picture, understand the numbers, and see the impact. The 2025-2026 budget on KBC Channel 1.
Welcome back to Prime Edition. Talk to us on all our social media platforms at KBC Channel 1 on X, Facebook, and YouTube. The Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission is on the trail of assets valued at over 130 billion shillings acquired through proceeds of corruption. EACC says investigations on the same are almost complete, and it wants to ensure evidences to be presented in court are watertight to avoid the corrupt evading justice. The Commission made its case at a stakeholders dialogue and capacity building workshop on financial investigations and assets recovery held at the Kenya School of Government in Nairobi.
On Tuesday, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, EACC and development partners converged in Nairobi for a forum on financial investigations and assets recovery. The meeting identifying weak investigations, it says severely undermines efforts to fight and deter corruption in the country.
Courts release people or suspects when there is no sufficient evidence. And in my experience, the weakness, especially in the cases where you find some suspects have been released, is in gathering and preserving and here I want to emphasize preserving evidence. The investigators may obtain and gather that evidence, but preserving it in a manner that will be acceptable to court according to the law becomes a challenge.
The players further revealed if corruption is not properly investigated, perpetrators will avoid justice and continue the activities fostering a culture of impunity. Participants lauding the forum, saying such collaborations in financial investigations will enhance the capacity of authorities to decisively deal with corruption.
More has to be done, and the idea of this kind of dialogues is to enhance cooperation, coordination, and make sure that the resources that are there are utilized in an effective way to really mitigate this fundamental problem that Kenya as well as other countries have.
John Lolkoloi, Director Ethics and Leadership at EACC, who addressed the meeting, revealed the Commission is pursuing forfeiture of corruptly acquired assets valued at 130 billion shillings across the country.
We have court cases in several courts, and we are pursuing about an estimated Kenya shillings 130 billion. So those cases are in several stages in the courts, and we expect to get favorable response because those cases were well investigated.
We have a number of assets, movable and immovable. We have motor vehicles, and we have immovable ones like land. We have buildings, and those ones are being managed. The ones that have been concluded are under preservation orders.
Lolkoloi said in the last 4 years, the Commission has recovered corruptly acquired and unexplained assets in cash, movable and immovable, worth over 26 billion shillings.
Networks between our respective law enforcement agencies for an enhanced and strategic fight against corruption that remains a significant global challenge.
He challenged law enforcement agencies to embrace the concept of joint trainings and experience sharing for ease of investigations. The forum was organized by EACC in partnership with UNODC Regional Office in Nairobi.
Well, from war on graft to news in our newsroom this hour, President William Ruto has appointed Erastus Edung Ethekon as the chairperson of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission for a period of 6 years. News in our newsroom this hour, President William Ruto has appointed Erastus Edung Ethekon to be the chairperson of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission for a period of 6 years. He, at the same time, appointed members to the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission for the same period, which is 6 years, and Nderitu Njeri, Moses Alutalala Mukwana, Mary Karen Sorobit, Hassan Nur Hassan, Francis Odhiambo Aduol, Fahima Arafat Abdallah. The members appointed to the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission again by the President this hour for a period of 6 years are Njeri Nderitu, Moses Alutalala Mukwana, Mary Karen Sorobit, Hassan Nur Hassan, Francis Odhiambo Aduol, Fahima Arafat Abdallah. We'll be doing developments on that and much more in regards to the constitution of the Independent and Electoral and Boundaries Commission chairperson and the members who have been appointed by the President this hour. In other developments, Broadcasting and Telecommunication Principal Secretary Stephen Isaboke says the government is committed to transforming Kenya Broadcasting Corporation to match the changing technological trends. Speaking during his familiarization tour at Broadcasting House 2 months after taking office, Isaboke revealed that the ministry is currently working on ensuring the national broadcaster remains competitive.
On Tuesday, Broadcasting and Telecommunication Principal Secretary Stephen Isaboke paid a courtesy call to Kenya Broadcasting Corporation 2 months after his appointment. The PS outlining the ministry's plan to transform the national broadcaster to take its rightful place in broadcasting spectrum.
The president came in with transformation as his agenda, and digital transformation for that matter. And KBC is actually one of the corporations in terms of cooperation positioned for transformation or for restructuring, so that it's actually positioned to take its rightful place in the broadcasting spectrum and in the new digital era. And we're actually glad that KBC is seized to take on the president's vision to realize that whole digital transformation agenda that has actually been set obviously by the bottom-up economic transformation agenda.
The PS promising to address challenges facing the broadcaster, which include insufficient funding, recovering the institution's assets as well as infrastructural improvement.
We've also discussed with the board issues of governance and how the board is actually assisting management to try to steer the business or the corporation into this transformative era where there's so much disruption happening in the broadcasting. What do you then do, especially when you have so much, legacy and also assets that you need to monetize to ensure the corporation survives and actually thrives?
Isaboke said the ministry is currently working on facilitating staff training, improving staff welfare and having the right placements.
We've agreed on a plan that will actually ensure that those issues, especially staff issues impacting on our people, they're actually addressed. People welfare, people training, and actually having the right people in the right jobs so that the corporation actually delivers on its mandate is very, very core to what management is doing.
In a move aimed at steering corporations' financial capability, the PS said he will ensure KBC acquires competitive programs and content to remain marketable.
We propose partnerships, first of all, on content production, co-production like BBC, Al Jazeera, and local content for quality and diverse programming. We're looking at technology. If we start collaborating with entities like Google and universities for cloud broadcasting.
The PS has come in as we are starting to effect and implement our 5-year strategic plan, who is very clear about reforms around our finances, reforms around our HR, reforms around our brand, and also, of course, looking forward very much to positioning KBC to meet the very rapidly changing consumer demands from the population that is becoming younger by the day.
Michael Mondiga for Prime Edition.
Greetings in the name of the Most High Jah Rastafari. My good name is Marley Moses, the Positive Warrior, alongside...
Yes, sir, DJ D-Rage, the baddest. Each and every Wednesday from 10 p.m. on KBC Channel 1 TV.
Tunakuletea the biggest reggae party in 254 in a yard extra. Extra niceness of reggae music.
Extra dose of entertainment.
When the thing is nice,
we have to do it twice.
In a world where news is ever changing, staying informed is more important than ever.
Join us every week on News Check, your go-to show for the latest in current affairs, breaking news and in-depth analysis.
A warm welcome to KBC News Check.
From politics to global events, we bring you content that matter to you.
We're not just speaking about the governance and how we want to see it, but want to actually participate.
Get your facts, hear from the experts, and really understand what is happening around you.
We need to change our system first.
You have to do the impossible
yes.
to make sure the message is home.
Stay ahead, stay informed, stay engaged.
Will these people, everybody agree?
Just listen to me.
Let's give him a chance to clear the air.
Catch News Check every Tuesday and Wednesday from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. Only on KBC Channel 1.
Thank you for staying with us. Let's now cross over to the courts. 4 senior ranking police officers charged with the killing of 6-month-old baby Samantha Pendo in Kisumu County in 2017 will know their bail terms fit next week on 16th June. This is after parties in the case, as well as the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution, gave their lengthy submissions proposing and opposing their release. The 4 officers who were charged last month are facing crimes against humanity ranging from murder, torture, and rape based on their command responsibilities on their subordinates.
Jengo Masha, officer commanding station at Kaptakani, and chief inspectors Lina Kogei, Cyprian Robbie, and James Rono sat patiently on Tuesday as arguments on their release were presented. The councils representing the family and victims strongly opposed the release of the 4 police bosses, urging the court to impose more restrictions in their chain of command cuts across the countries as commanders of their units.
Again, it makes reference to likelihood of interference with witnesses, that is E, and F, need to protect the victims from the accused persons.
In a rejoinder, defense counsels argue that the restrictions already in place are harsh and the court should exercise leniency.
The accused person could, under any circumstances, be found guilty under the command responsibility. Then that will only happen once the Court of Appeal will have rendered itself in the pending appeal.
Justice Margaret Muigai was told the noble nature of the criminal law is the first of its kind in the country, since the accused are facing command responsibilities as opposed to primary responsibility.
I have made reference to the material paragraph of the report referring to those instances, suggesting that the accused was the third accused person who was not present at the time the offenses are alleged.
Mohamed Ba, a retired police officer who was to be charged with the 4, remains at large with efforts to locate him at his rural home in Wajir County, bearing no fruits. Separately, on the Kenjakoma brothers murder trial, Lady Justice Margaret Muigai was on Tuesday shown medical records to confirm the 6 accused person remain hospitalized at Thika Level 4 Hospital.
In the event there is room for this matter to be able to proceed, depending on his condition, because that is also what we are not told, there needs to be a balance to see whether something at least can happen in terms of moving this trial forward.
The case will be mentioned on 2nd July, even as the judge ruled the warrant of arrest will remain fully in force.
The 6th accused person is said to be in hospital. We mentioned the matter in 2 weeks, as per the copy of the letter in the file.
In the case, 2 brothers, Benson and Emmanuel Ndwiga, died in 2021 after being arrested for violating curfew rules. 6 officers are under trial. Ruth Wamboi for Prime Edition.
Former Chief Justice Willie Mtunga, People's Liberation Party leader Martha Karua, and 4 other activists have sued the Tanzanian government at the East African Court of Justice over alleged violations of fundamental rights within the East African community. The 6 argue that they were unlawfully detained, denied entry, and ultimately deported from Tanzania. Actions, they argue, blatantly disregarded the principles of rule of law, good governance, and the freedom of movement that are supposed to be guaranteed to all East African citizens. Beyond a formal apology, the applicants are seeking significant damages, claiming they suffered mental anguish, reputational harm, and substantial travel expenses as a result of the ordeal.
And that this occurrence does not happen to other citizens from the Republic of Kenya.
I've asked the court to issue declaratory orders against this deportation, to also issue compensation for this deportation, and the stamps that were made on the passports for the refusal of entry to be cancelled by the United Republic of Tanzania.
the men and women in boats. Their core mandate: to defend and protect the sovereignty and territorial integrity of the Republic of Kenya. Their bravery knows no limits.
Make a man go through the wall without breaking the wall.
Laziness. It is not in our vocabulary.
But what are their stories, their tales? Military Tales, every Saturday at 9 p.m. with Ben Troy Njoe.
Zungeketi chini tu muongee msikizane.
Kisakata unajua mama pendi kuambiwa.
Oh please, look who's talking.
Do you know that nobody knows I took out Baraza's meal?
Well, we don't know what Jamal knows, so we need to be very careful.
Check hivi Isha kijua story yote anakuua.
Nilikwambia.
Hilo.
Hakuna kitu yote inaendelea kuficha nikose kujua.
Taka, you think I don't know how close you are with Joel? And that you wouldn't tell me anything to do with Ruth because you think she's the one in charge? Is that right?
Sure. You need to find a space, okay? And you, Kisaka, you need to know who pays you, me or Shiro, okay?
Welcome back to Prime Edition. Time for us to shift to business news. Kiptum, good evening.
Good evening to you, Muchuma. Time for the latest in the world of business. Let's make sense of the numbers. My name is Betty Kiptum. The cost of credit has reduced to a 2-year low following a decision by the Central Bank of Kenya policymakers to lower the benchmark lending rate. The Monetary Policy Committee has reduced the benchmark lending rate by 25 basis points to 9.75%, which is the lowest since June 2023. Central Bank Governor Dr. Kamau Thuge says the lower lending rate is aimed at stimulating lending by banks to the private sector and supporting economic activity. This is after the average commercial banks lending rates declined to 15.4% in May 2025 from 15.7% in April and 17.2% in November 2024. Dr. Thuge says the central bank is keen on ensuring inflationary expectations remain firmly anchored and the exchange rate is stable. And Information, Communications and the Digital Economy Cabinet Secretary William Kafogo is calling for the responsible use of artificial intelligence in the field of public relations, urging communicators to safeguard the truth. Addressing the 36th African Public Relations Association Annual Conference in Mombasa, Kafogo underscored the growing influence of AI in shaping public discourse and information sharing.
The African Public Relations Association Annual Conference has brought together communication professionals from across the continent to deliberate on the evolving role of public relations in the AI era. Information, Communications and the Digital Economy Cabinet Secretary underscored the importance of digital communication in empowering small enterprises, amplifying civic voices, and transforming public service delivery.
Through our policies and partnerships, we are creating an enabling environment in which professionals like yourselves can thrive. We see public relations not merely as a corporate function, but as a nation-building tool.
Despite this, he says, there are risks such as cyberbullying, misinformation, and disinformation as declining public trust in institutions that require PR, technological agility, a renewed commitment to ethics, and focus on human connections.
As the digital landscape is changing, we want to ask ourselves a pertinent question. What are we doing as practitioners to advance the cause of Africa from wherever we are?
PR professionals were challenged to embrace emerging technologies, be massive storytellers, and staunch defenders of truth in an era where truth is increasingly contested. Wairi Mujenga for Prime Edition.
To agriculture now, there is need for countries to reduce cross-border trading tariffs to help lower the cost of animal feeds. Food and Agriculture Organization Assistant Director General Abebe Hale Gabriel is concerned about increased cost of animal feed in Africa despite readily available raw materials.
In the Finance Bill 2025, raw materials for making animal feed are among commodities that have been moved from zero-rated to tax-exempt status. This is likely to further push up the retail cost of animal feed as manufacturers incur marginally higher cost on inputs. Food and Agriculture Organizations say there is need to revise tax and other regulatory policies to reduce the overall cost of animal feed and boost livestock production.
And why animal source of food is becoming more expensive is because the feeds themselves are expensive.
He's also urging countries to harmonize their animal feed tax regimes to boost cross-border and regional animal feed markets.
Different kinds of tariff and non-tariff barriers exist among the different countries. So the solution is for the countries to come together to harmonize their trade policies.
Kenya is among 13 countries that is said to benefit from a 13 billion shillings funding that plans to increase vaccination and strengthen livestock value chain.
Jointly together with World Health Organization and UNICEF, mobilize over $300 million US, and FAO as an implementing entity is handling over $90 million.
Benson Rioba reporting for Prime Edition.
Now, the Kenya Kwanza administration rode to power on a platform of narrowing the budget deficit to below 5% while capping borrowing and increasing revenue. However, the last three budgets have been a mixed bag of fortunes, with budget deficit in the fiscal year 2024-2025 reported at 5.1%, while borrowing has jumped to 11.4 trillion shillings on account of revenue shortfalls and investments in new capital projects. Regina Manyara looks at the 3 years of Kenya Kwanza's administration budgeting cycles.
National budgets 2023-2024, 2024-2025, and now the proposed budget 2025-2026. What has changed? What remains the same? And what does this mean for you? Let's take a look at the numbers that shape the country's future.
Kenya's national budget has been on an expansion trend in the last years. Every budget has been bigger and more ambitious than the last. In the last 3 years, for example, the budget has grown from 3.67 trillion shillings in 2023-2024 fiscal year to 4.2 trillion in the coming 2025-2026 financial year.
And it is largely because we at one point took short-term loans to develop long-term projects.
Across all three budgets, some focus areas have remained constant. Focus on infrastructure development, emphasis on education and healthcare, commitment to fiscal consolidation, and push for digital taxation and compliance. In the 2023-2024 budget, it introduced a 1.5% housing levy on gross salaries to fund the affordable housing project. Treasury also increased value-added tax on fuel from 8% to 16%, as well as introduction of digital service tax. Treasury then had a budget deficit of 835 billion shillings, or 5.7% of the gross domestic product, despite an ambitious target of 4.4%. In 2024-2025, the government proposed increases in taxes on bread, cooking oil, and financial transactions. These resulted in mass protests that led to the withdrawal of proposed tax hikes worth 346 billion shillings. And now, due to fears of mass protest, the proposed 2025-2026 budget has not introduced new or increased taxes. If the 2025-2026 proposed budget sails in its current form, the education sector will receive the largest share at 29% of the total budget, amounting to 700 billion shillings, while energy, infrastructure and ICT will receive 21% of the budget, totaling 501 billion shillings. The fiscal deficit will be financed through domestic borrowing of 592 billion shillings and external borrowing of 284 billion shillings. Regina Manyara reporting for KBC Channel 1.
Now, construction of the standard gauge railway to Kisumu and Malaba will start in the second half of the year, following the completion of route mapping as well as land acquisition. Kenya Railways is looking for financiers for a new railway line to Ethiopia as part of the Lamu Port South Sudan-Ethiopia project, LAPSET.
The standard gauge railway extension from Naivasha to the border town of Malaba is expected to cost 581.6 billion shillings. The 369-kilometer line is designed to improve the viability of the railway by linking it to Uganda, Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo, with these countries also developing their respective segments of the railway. The construction for Kenya's section may have moved a step closer.
The current program we have is a 2B2C, which is going to kick off sometimes the second half of the year.
We have identified the route, and we have identified the people to be compensated for that route. So we have done the relocation action plan document, and it is complete. So we call it the RAP. Again, we are almost completing the environmental impact assessment by the end of this month.
Financial institutions were proposed to fund 30% of the project. The Kenyan government will raise 30%, and then a consortium would do the remaining 40%. This even as the corporation looks to develop new funding models.
We also have the LAPSET, where the road has already been done, so we're working on looking for a financier, a PPP project that can be able to leave from Lamu Port to Ethiopia and Southern Sudan.
They were speaking at the 8th anniversary celebrations of Madaraka Express operations, which to date has ferried over 15.3 million passengers and 39.7 million tons of cargo.
Over the past 8 years, the AGR has not only reshaped the transportation landscape of East Africa, but also stood as a flagship project of Belt and Road Initiative cooperation between China and Kenya, and a testament to the friendship between our peoples.
What many passengers and investors in the rail sector are looking at right now is whether Kenya Railways will be able to fill the gaps that remain in the railway line, including the Malaba route and also the impressive Ethiopian route. Alan Oko, Prime Edition.
And that is the news we had for you this evening on the business desk. Bernardo Kumu is standing by to bring you the latest in the world of sports. My name is Betty Kiptum. Do have yourself a lovely night. Bye-bye.
19 nations will compete in the Total Energies CAF African Nations Championship, Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania 2024, which will be staged from 2nd to 30th August 2025. Amongst the 4 groups in the tournament A to D, Kenya is pooled in Group A, together with Morocco, Angola, DR Congo and Zambia.
Algeria from the set piece, the header is on target, but it's...
This unique competition featuring the best locally based players from across the continent definitely has something for everyone. Just bring your A game as you let it flow live and exclusive on KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
And thank you so much for joining us. It is time for the latest from the sports world with me, Bernardo Kumu. Now, renovations at the Nyayo National Stadium and Kasarani Stadium will be fully completed by the 25th of this month, and the keys handed over to the ministry in charge of sports on the same day. This is according to Sports Cabinet Secretary Salim Vuria, who led the National Assembly Committee on Sports on a tour of the stadium, including the Talanta Sports Complex.
Nyayo National Stadium in Kasarani will go down in history as the first stadium in Kenya to host the 2024 African Nations Championship CHAN. The stadium, which have been undergoing a facelift, are now 86% complete. On Tuesday afternoon, the Sports Cabinet Secretary Salim Mvurya led the National Assembly Sports Committee on a tour geared towards assisting the progress of the stadium. Mvurya says all stadia, including the Talanta Sports Complex, will be complete by 25th of this month.
The changing rooms here in Nyayo and Kasarani are also done. The major works that is being handled now are the electrical part. We are fixing a scoreboard on that side and another scoreboard on this side. All the seats have been fitted and we have agreed with all contractors, both for this field and all the other fields, training grounds in Police Circle, Nyayo and Kasarani, that they will be handing over the key on the 25th of this month.
African Nations Championship CHAN will be co-hosted by Kenya, Uganda and Tanzania from the 2nd to 30th of August this year.
And on behalf of the committee, we are satisfied that what the Doubting Thomas have been saying about Kenya hosting CHAN and AFCON, we want to confirm to them that yes, Kenya is ready and the two tournaments will be held without any hitches.
Kenya will be hosting CHAN for the first time in history in front of home fans and will be seeking to showcase a splendid performance after being pegged in Group A alongside 2 times winners Morocco and the Democratic Republic of Congo. Reporting for Prime Edition Sports from Mo International Sports Center Kasarani, my name is Frederick Mwoki.
And thank you, Moki, for that report. Of course, the other opponents for Kenyan Group A are Zambia and Angola. Moving on to rugby, where the national men's sevens rugby team Shujaa has been drawn in Pool A with defending champions Uganda, Cote d'Ivoire and Ghana in the prestigious Rugby Africa Men's Sevens Cup, slated from the 21st through to the 22nd of this month in Mauritius. Shujaa, who won the tournament in 2023, hopes for a best performance after 6th place ranking last year. Meanwhile, the National Rugby 15s men Simba's head coach Jerome Powaters hopes his side will step up and register a win when they face South Africa under-20 team again on Saturday in Stellenbosch. This follows their 42-19 loss to the Junior Springboks in a training match played in South Africa. Captain George Nyambua and Walter Koth hit up the first half for Simbas with back-to-back tries, with Domela converting one for a 12-7 lead, a penalty try and a second from Nyambua stretched Kenya's advantage 24-7 at halftime. However, the Junior Boks strengthened their performance in the second half to seal a 42-24 win. The Simbas are gearing up for the Rugby Africa Cup set for the 8th to 20th of July in Uganda, where the top 9 African nations will feature. Elsewhere, the Kenya Volleyball Federation has named the national provisional squads for the upcoming 2025 CAVB Beach Volleyball Championships in Morocco. The women's squad, which will be coached by Salome Wanjala, comprises of Gaudensia Makoha, Fosca Kasisi, Veronica Dhiambo, Charlene Maywa, Masi Iminza, and Sharon Arusei. The men's team comprises Jairus Kipkosgei, Elfas Makuto, Bran Meli, Donald Mchete, Wilson Cheriot, and Joseph Muliro. They'll be coached by Sami Mulinge. The CAVB Beach Volleyball Continental Championship will be held from the 23rd to the 30th of this month in Tetuan and Matil in Morocco. The double-header championship will be the Africa qualifier for the FIVB Beach Volleyball World Championships. Internationally, Belgium edged Wales 4-3 in one of the most thrilling fourth-round matches of the European qualifiers for the 2026 FIFA World Cup played yesterday at Stade Roy Baudouin. They took a 3-0 lead. Kevin De Bruyne put Emphatic win from Croatia and Belgium in the World Cup qualifiers for the UEFA Nations. Meanwhile, back home, Harambee Stars is preparing to play in the upcoming African Nations Championship due in August. In readiness for the matches, they've been playing a couple of friendly matches. They played Chad on 7th. That was on Saturday in their first of the back-to-back matches. And of course, the second match was on tonight. And happy to say that Kenya did bounce back to beat Chad by 2-1 in the second of the friendly matches played in Marrakesh. So it is actually Benny McCarthy's first win of his 4 matches in charge of the squad. That's it from the sports desk. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Bernardo Kumu, wishing you a good night.
Thank you, Bernardo Kumu, for the sports bits. Earlier on, we had Betty Kiptum with the business news. And just a recap of the developments this hour. President William Ruto has appointed the IEBC chairperson for a period of 6 years, Erastus Edong Ethicon, and he has also appointed members to the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. At the same time, this hour, the DPP has directed IPOA to expedite investigations into the death of Ojwang and issue a report within 7 days. Thank you for your feedback on our social media platforms. Quite a number of people have been persistent in talking to us. John Murutu from City Hall, John Mwangi from Kiambu, and Eka Otieno from the Central Business District. My name is Muchuma Odim. Our sign language expert tonight is Lensa Odingo. God bless you.
Say the earth without art would just be get it? We circumnavigate the globe and traverse the local scene to bring you art and culture at their very best. From fine art, culinary art, performing arts, and even cultural events, you name it, and we have got you covered. My name is Kevin Kasioki, and I will be serving you this and much, much more each and every Friday at 8 p.m. only on KBC Channel 1.